Okay, we should be live now. Let us know if you're
Hi,
seeing
everyone.
us. Everybody's seeing us now. We appreciate you waiting. I'm going to welcome my guest, Eric Heller. Eric, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Keller. I'm not famous on Amazon.
Yes, you're probably more famous than me.
No, well, I don't know if I don't know if that's a thing that we can evaluate. Maybe we can ask the guests or something. I have no idea.
So let's see. I'm having some comments that they can't hear sound. Is other people able to hear us? Let us know if you can hear us. Let us know if you can see us. I don't really know how to fix it if there's no sound. All right, I got some people saying hi. They got that sound. They say hi. All right, well, we've got 100 people on here, so I want to deliver you guys some awesome content. This came up in a conversation. I sent Eric an email. I said, if I want to take advantage of Prime Day, but I don't have a Prime Day deal, what do I do? So before we get into that, Eric, why don't you kind of talk a little bit about why you're qualified to answer that? And then we can dive into that and take some questions.
Sure, absolutely. Jeff, how long do we have?
So I think you had a cutoff at 4 o'clock or
Yep.
Central or
Cool.
Eastern. So we'll kind of roll as long as we have.
That's cool. Let's do it, and we'll try and do it as a conversation for people. So, first, I'm Eric Keller. I'm CEO of Marketplace Ignition. To our knowledge, we're one of the largest strategy consultancies for brands selling to Amazon as well as third party. We've been doing this for about 6.5 years. And before that, I started with Amazon in 1999. And one of the reasons I was really excited about this topic is when you think about where Prime Day came from, it came from the earliest large events that merchants did. And at Amazon, one of my first role was really to work with the largest early sellers on the platform, companies like J&R, Office Depot, Circuit City, and really to help figure out and test what promotions work. So this was sort of a perfect topic for you and I to discuss.
Okay, so let's just get to the high level question. Can I take advantage of Prime if I don't have a Prime Day deal?
Absolutely. So one of the key things I want to talk about first is what moves the needle on Amazon. So moving the needle on Amazon always starts with the detail page. When you think about, unlike
This is
uh,
the product detail.
the product detail page, right? So when you think about off Amazon, right, you think about, I don't know, a department store. Often what really moves things there is, oh, what campaigns do I have? What ads are in the mall? How do I attract traffic? But because Amazon shopping is so different and you're going straight to that product detail page, the first and most important things you can do affect the product detail page. If you can do something that shows on or changes the details on the product detail page, you'll convert higher. So when you say, geez, I didn't get a promotion. I didn't get something approved for Prime Day. Or I had something that just came in and I got an opportunistic deal and I really want to run it, but it's too late to get it featured. What do I do? And the answer there is really to think about how do I change how do I change the nature of the interaction? How do I change the way people find my product on Amazon? And how do I change how they convert?
Okay, so there's some things you can't do.
Right.
So let's make sure we're careful about that, right? Like
Okay.
you can't add Prime Day into your title or description.
Exactly. First of all, when you think about what's on the product detail page, it should always be reflective of the product, not the offer. So people talk about the differences of Amazon versus eBay, and this is a really big one. eBay is what's called a listings or offer focused marketplace, meaning that everyone's offer has its own page generally. But on Amazon, everyone's offer is combined onto a single page and it's a product focused marketplace. So don't ever think about, oh my gosh, I've got this great deal. I've got to scream it on the detail page because someone else might be selling that same item. So you don't want anything on the page. You don't want to add any content to the page that's related to how you ship it, how you price it, how amazing your company is as the most authorized beautiful distributor. That none of that matters. You want to only list things on that page that affected that product or relate to that product.
And ultimately, if you're going to try to take advantage of Prime Day, right, because that's what we're going to chat about, you can't add anything to your listing so that somebody searches for the word Prime Day, blah, blah, blah deals, that your product shows up. You're going to be in violation of the terms of service.
You're exactly right. But I also want to add in that this is even before search. So before we even mess with search and the things that get more people to your page, don't, go to any effort on the, don't go to effort to drive paid search to your product until you fixed earned search, meaning the content that's on that page. In other words, before you pay or do anything to drive more search traffic to your page, you want to make sure that that page is converting as well as possible. Imagine if you were selling your house. So if I was really going to sell my house, I might put a sign out front that's going to cost me $400 or $600, and I got to put it in the Sunday paper and one of those homes and land circulars, and that's another $1,000. But the first thing I really want to do is stage my house. So before I do anything, I got to bring in the house cleaner and I got to get it clean, and I want to stage it. Maybe I'm going to repaint it. That's what we're saying here. Fix your house before you start running ads to get people to your house. And there's a lot of things. I'm going to just jump to the next question you're going to ask, Jeff, because we presented. Luckily, I have had the great opportunity and fortune to present so many times, Jeff. I know what you're going to ask next, which is, are you sure you can change that content? So let's first say that only some content on Amazon can be changed. So let's first start with, let's assume you own the listing. You're the only seller on the listing, and you are the brilliant mind that invented whatever that product is. You own everything on the page, and you should be doing everything you can, from using keyword research tools to looking at what your competitors are doing to making sure you maximize the images. Make sure you always remember the three most important types of content on Amazon are the title, the images, and the feature bullets. It's way more important to have great feature bullets than to have a description. But you should have a description, but start with feature bullets, title, and great images. And great images isn't always just a beautiful picture of your product. Go look at who some of the winners are in your category. For example, if you're if you are in supplements, you should look at the top vitamin producers. If you're in electronics, you can look at companies like Anchor. What you'll notice is that the images that they use aren't pictures of their product necessarily. A lot of times they're magazine ads. And the first image has to be on a white background, but all of the others you're going to want to use images that explain the key features. Assume people might look at images over bullets. How do you make sure that you put the right info in there? Go ahead, Jeff. I know you have some other questions, and then I have some more thoughts on that, but I want to.
Okay, so I want to get specifically into July 10th through 11th.
Yes.
Very similar to what you said. I like the analogy that you used, that there's going to be this massive advertising by Amazon that's going to drive all this extra traffic. It's actually already started, right? If you go there now, they have special deals if you order by Alexa, right? Voice ordering. How do I get, let's make some assumptions. I'm fully optimized, but I'm not running a deal. This traffic is coming to Amazon. What type of strategies do I want to put in place to take advantage of that? Do I want to discount my price? Do I want to run coupons? What do you make as recommendations to your customers?
So the number one thing you just asked is, you first started, I want to be clear, you first started and said, assume I'm not running a deal, but I mean a prime deal. I want to make sure that the parameters are that you can still modify the price. So in your example that you just gave, one of the things I would say is that price versus coupons always bias to price. Anything that affects the detail page. So a lot of times we get asked, should I run a buy one, get one 20% off promotion? It's not going to be nearly as effective as offering 10% off per unit that affects and changes the price. A discount is always better than a deal. And a lot of times people say, well, I was gaming on some of the breakage from people not qualifying for the deal or not. I get it. But if you want to most affect Amazon, you need to change the price or look to win more buy boxes. Now, Amazon's not all about price, but price versus coupons versus versus on-page promotions, price will win and in terms of most effect. The other thing that I want to say, and I think this is one of the most important things we can get across to people today, is don't underestimate the importance of just the event. So let me tell you a great story. A client of ours that was in health and personal care sold insoles. And they said, and when we started working with them, I said, where's your holiday plan? And they said, holiday plan? Are you kidding? Like, can you imagine how sad that would be to get like socks, insoles, and Velcro shoes, for Christmas? That's terrible. And what we said is, no, you don't understand. People are coming to Amazon and opening their wallets. So even if you're not discounting your price, the idea, if Amazon's traffic is 2x, the only way that you won't see some lift is if your conversion falls. And so you have to assume that there will be an increase even in items that are non-seasonal or deal related. Things where someone is on site and they're on there and they're going to buy anything anyway, and they're also going to remember they're out of Ziploc bags, and they're also going to remember they're out of, you name it. The components and the way Amazon works, and when you look at the basket analysis tells us even non-deal items, if you work and make sure and hone all of your products, this is I don't want to say a once a year time, but this is certainly the biggest traffic event on Amazon in the summer. And it is worth spending the next week working on all your content, ensuring that if you sell insoles, your amazing insoles are up there. And one more thing, don't think that people aren't looking for a deal on insoles. Even this is a deal focused event, unlike holiday. And so certainly think about bringing all your best deals out.
So do I raise my retail price so I can show a greater discount?
Ooh, so are you leading the witness? No, I think in general, I think, the market is becoming savvy enough. People look at Camel. They look at other things. They track pricing. I think I guess you could try and do that, but I do want to say that in general, you don't want to use pricing like that. In specific, a lot of people don't realize, but manipulating the list price in order to get a percent off is actually, the word sale has a legal meaning. And there's been a lot of issues and questions online about this. And I really think it harms customer trust, let alone the fact that I think it's legally questionable to do that. So just don't do it.
Yeah. So from a customer perspective, they're coming to Amazon and they're looking for a deal. And you as a seller need to add some type of extra discount to the product because that's just going to be what they're looking for.
Right.
And
exactly.
Customers know how much an insole could cost. And
right.
So if your discount is just the normal price, they may or may not buy. And what you're looking for is that 2 or 4x spike, which is occurring because of all the traffic, to then take your product into sales for the next quarter into Q4.
But people become myopic about Amazon and price, right? All the time. How many times do you get asked, isn't Amazon just a race to the bottom? But
Yep.
The winners in a ton of categories are not the lowest price. And so what I would say, if you really can't discount, then make sure your product has the best possible reasons why someone would pay more for it. If you can't explain, one of the interesting things that here's a good example of this is I was just speaking in Australia at this event Jeff and I have spoken at, and someone came up to me. He says, "Amazon's coming to Australia. Do you think I'll succeed?" And I said, "What do you sell?" And he says, "Well, I mostly sell other people's brands." And I said, "Well, do you buy it better? Do you is your product, is the way you sell it better? Do you have really good operations or supply chain?" He goes, "No, really." And I said, "Well, why do you succeed?" And he goes, "Well, really, no one else sells what I sell in my area." He goes, "Do you think I'll be okay when Amazon comes?" And I was like, "No, you don't sell a different product than anyone else. You don't price it better than anyone else, and you don't describe it or in any way add value above anyone else. It's going to be really hard." So you need to find a way to add value in that chain somehow.
Okay, we're getting close to 300 people on our Facebook Live.
Wow.
Let's ask a couple questions here of the audience, and then I want to bring some questions they brought up back to you. So first question is, if you have a Prime Day deal, meaning your deal is on Amazon with Prime, type the word Prime in the comments. We want to see how many of you have an actual Prime deal. All right, a couple questions here from the audience, Eric. What's a good conversion rate on the product detail page?
Oh my gosh, that. Geez, I actually don't have an answer for that because that's sort of like, what's the best color? Yellow. It's really different on different categories. Yeah, I don't know. It really just depends on the number of competitors you have, and it depends on that. I mean, certainly if you're above 4%, you're doing fine, but it just depends. There's certain categories where you'll see where people are really trusting of certain brands, and you'll see it above 15%.
Right. So as a general rule of thumb, what I like to tell people, if you're double digits, you're doing awesome.
Right.
If you're under 5%, you have room for improvement. And then somewhere between the, let's say 4 to 10% kind of depends on your market.
Hey, I know we're going to keep taking points from the audience, but there's 2 points that I want to make sure I get across before we go fully to audience questions. Is that okay?
Yeah. The audience can interact at any time they want. I don't hold them back.
All right, good. A few quick things that I want to make sure. One, I want people to realize a lot of times people become very fixed in how they ship items to Amazon. And I do want to remind you that, one of the things that we discovered over our trips to Asia last year, Jeff, and I thought this was really interesting, is the massive number of Asian sellers that air freight product that you would not think you would want to air freight. And what's really interesting about it is that they have just gotten very sophisticated about the time value of money. And I want to say the same thing to US sellers. I can't tell you the number of clients I have, and they say, well, we LTL items. We freight ship. That's what we do. But if you're 5 days away from Amazon and you could FedEx a bunch of small things that you think you're going to run short on, and you think that you can, work the numbers. Don't be shy about using an alternate method to get something to Amazon quickly if you think you're going to run out before Prime Day, because you will not want to run out and let someone else take that dollar. And I have one other thing, but I'm happy to take up other Amazon questions audience questions before we go too far.
Yeah, I got a nice smattering of people that have Prime Day deals, so that's great to see. There's obviously 2 parts to Prime. There's the I sell other people's product, winning the buy box, and then there's the I sell my own product. And so there's a couple questions in here about ways to win the buy box on Prime Day. Is there anything different you need to do, or is it you just need to kind of keep going with what you're doing? So,
great question. I think the number one thing before I answer this is always to say, understand your P&L at the item level. I can't tell you the number of companies I work with where we say, well, what's your margin target? And they'll tell us, and we'll say, is that an average margin target or an absolute target? In other words, does every item have that minimum hurdle? And both of those are probably wrong. And either way, they're wrong vectors. What you really want to understand is every single product you sell, and I mean every single product, even like different size shoes, should have its own margin target. And why do I say that? So it's a really interesting question. That same seller that we talked to about earlier that sold insoles, one of the things we really discovered when we really looked at it is they have drastic women return shoes at drastically different rates. A size 7 women's shoe will return at, 16%. But a size 12 women's shoe, because women, at that edge, people are sort of, sometimes they're an 11 and a half, sometimes they're 12. It will return at 10 or 15% higher. And if you start working the math, a lot of those are unresellable, and you can find yourself making more money up front and having less money in the bank. So before you venture to work to win more buy boxes, very first thing is understand your P&L at this long SKU level, at that finest, most granular level, and then understand your target margin. Obviously,
did we lose Eric? Let's see.
On that shoe doesn't go down. You don't say, oh, my target is 8% margin clear on that shoe. It's 8% at every size, and then figure out what that means at each level. Go ahead.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but I think people got the general gist of what you were saying there. We've been talking about it a lot at the Seller Labs Resonate conference, or as you like to, Resonate. At that conference, Peter Kearns did a presentation on ASIN strategy, which really kind of drove home that point that you have to have a strategy at the ASIN level to know what you're doing. David asked, "Is there anything he missed because he's joined late?"
That's why we have recordings, right, Jeff?
Exactly. So I'd love for the audience to share. There's a share button on this video. Share this with your audience. Share this with your people. And if we can hit 25 shares, we will give away 6 months of Ignite's sponsored product ad tool. So go ahead and hit the share button, and we will, see if we can hit that number and give away some free software. All right, that's my little commercial break. I'm going to come back into here.
Hey, before we go to one more thing, do you mind if I give one other sort of pro tip that I think nobody really thinks about because they're moving so quickly?
All right, let's see. One more pro tip.
Well, one of the things that I've really not seen a lot of people doing is that they don't think about the hygiene of their feedback. So people think about listing hygiene all the time, but don't forget that Amazon has a contract with their customers, and things related to feedback related to price, because price changes all the time on Amazon, is offer related, not product related. So feedback related to price is not valid, and feedback related to things like shipping. That's left on the detail page. This product arrived crushed. Well, if that, it's unsure who shipped it and how, so it's not related to the product, that's related to the shipper. Those aren't valid. And a lot of people, will say, well, you get in there and they have 5-star reviews and 1-1-star review, and it says, the price was too much. That thing can come off. And so just make sure to always be thinking about, is this valid? There's all the don't try and pull off something that is a valid feedback that's negative, because Amazon won't take nicely to it. But if it's really valid to come down, make sure you're taking care of that part of your product.
Yeah, so what you're essentially saying is there's some maintenance that you need to do between now and Tuesday. You need to update your listings. You need to optimize them for keywords. You need to look at your seller feedback and your product review and see if there's some cleanup you can do within that, because this is like where you want to be. This is a nice day. You're going to get dressed up, right? And so before you go to a wedding, you get your hair cut, you get a nice shave. So these are the prep things that you do leading up to that day.
Jeff, I'm seeing a lot of questions come in about keyword and bidding, which we obviously didn't get to because we're getting so late. But do you, and I can go a few minutes over, but we really didn't talk about paid keywords. And
yeah, so there's 2 things I want to cover before we leave. And I'm going to make you go late because you came on late. Sponsored ads. Okay, so sponsored ads is first. And the second is running off Amazon promotions. So how I would use Facebook, Pinterest, other things to drive traffic in, and the value of doing that and timing that with Prime Day. So let's start with sponsored ads. So what type of sponsored ad strategy do you give your clients, or do you implement for your clients when it comes to Prime Day?
Well, one thing I'll tell you is a lot of people are not thinking, the number one thing we see all the time is that, like, you're not thinking big enough. You're not thinking like on a full return on ad spend model. And so if you really, fortunately or unfortunately, this is the beginning of the month, and a lot of people who think more about, well, I'm going to put $1,000 a month into it. A lot of those people have budget left. And so I do want to say early on in the month, there's going to be a lot of spend here. I think Amazon probably knows it. A lot of people, you've got to go in and be really vigilant. This is not a day where you're going to set it and forget it. Now, the percent increase, I can't say, but what I will say is, rather than tell you the percent increase because it's so specific by category, I would say to really be looking at your maxes throughout the day. Make sure you set times to go in and evaluate, because think, with all that traffic, which we can't predict how much bigger it's going to be, how quickly will you burn through your impressions you're paying for and your clicks you're paying for? And how fast will you suddenly blow through that before you even know your performance and whether or not you want to pay more? And you really need to go into the day, figure out what you're willing to spend, or you could end up, playing your whole game by 10 or 11 a.m.
Yeah. So, but sponsored ads delays the information that you get. So I'm gonna increase my budget. Let's just use simple numbers. I'm spending $1,000 a day, okay?
Right.
And I'm gonna increase it for Prime Day to $2,000. I check at lunch, and I'm close to blowing through my budget, but I have no clue how that $2,000 did for me. Do I risk it and go for another 1,000, 2,000? Do I try to take full advantage of the day and see the data later?
It is a good question. I mean, one thing you're right is that you know how much you're spending. So if you increase your budget by 20%, let's just go as a rule of thumb on X number of products, you do have much more real-time visibility on your product sales. And
so I can see the orders coming in.
Right. So if you could see your orders were coming in up 25%, now that would be one indicator, but it's true that you won't be able to tie those directly to the numbers. You're exactly right that in some ways this is educated dart throwing.
Okay, so Richard brings up a great point, and Eric did too. You can see your orders coming in throughout the day, so you should be looking for your orders to be increasing at some type of pace compared to your spend increasing. But you do have to kind of take advantage of this while it's hot, so to speak.
Right.
And I think what Eric was talking about is a marketing term called the halo effect, which is that the sales that you generate on Prime Day are going to generate additional sales for you through the rest of the year. I mean, it could be a launching pad into Q4. And there's some case studies. There was one that was shared at IRCE by a young lady named Melissa Burdick. And it was a company called Bai, B-A-I. They're a drink company. And it showed this is where their market share was. They obviously had a huge spike from Prime Day, but afterwards they could see that their market share was at a raised percentage over that. Are you seeing that with any other clients? I mean, you don't need to share any specifics, but in general, is that something you're seeing with clients, that halo effect takes?
I mean, we didn't even get a chance to get to this yet. It's its own topic, right? Which is how to leverage bundles and cross-selling on Amazon to maximize the halo effect, which is one of the notes that I'd really had here. And you're right, the buy case study is a great one. But looking at what you want to promote and what you want to discount on Prime Day, one of the key elements there is even if you didn't get your number one deal in, if you got other products and then you buy keywords related to it, you can drive commensurate traffic and move all your products up. It's like a ratchet up growth effect. And there's some great examples of doing that on Amazon. I mean, one of the first things you can really do is really look at if your product is linked to other products and the keywords on your Prime, in other words, cross-sold, the frequently bought together. Don't forget that works two ways. If the key product you want to move is not moving, is really competitive, you can bid on that, trying to win on that other product, knowing you're getting free spillover traffic from that product on that detail page. Yep. It's really, really an amazing sort of way to drive your growth and, really focus on products where you can win the buy box or where you do own the page.
Yeah, so these are all things you need to be, you and your clients have been talking about this for a while now, right? So yes. What does somebody do that's just listening to this today? Can they take advantage of that?
The number one thing I do is to invest in some tools immediately to understand why your competitors are winning, who are the people that are winning against your products, what keywords are they buying. Jeff mentioned Scope a minute ago. Those are great options. Understand what the key keywords are that should be on your product. And then when you say, is it too late to do it? I don't think so at all. But I think the problem is that in 5 days, I guess it depends on how big your product catalog is. If you wanted to do sort of an 80-20 and focus on your top 80% of traffic items or your competitors' top 80% of traffic items, maybe you could mine what the frequently bought togethers are there and start working from there. But if you have a catalog of 200 or 300 ASINs, I'd say start with the top 50 and work on those and try and move the needle on your rest by fixing your top 50.
All right, let's talk about external traffic. Do you recommend to your clients to promote Prime to their external traffic, Facebook, Pinterest, or their own email list? And if so, what type of results have you seen from that?
Absolutely. So think about that one of the best indicators or signals for sales rank and search rank can really be the additions of items to wish lists, off Amazon traffic onto Amazon. The other one you didn't mention is affiliates. So who are the influencers in your space? If you sell apparel and you can find a way to get people to link and add affiliate links, that's a win-win. And there's so many great influencers, the mommy blogs, all of these things that work really well. but you really mentioned affiliate groups, fan clubs on Facebook. All of these things work so well. And as we lead up to Amazon, the number one thing you want is to help your earned search, right? So you want people linking into your items. You want to drive a big deal that morning, so that if you can, so that people come in off of Amazon, and then people who come on Amazon and then just search for famous on Amazon shirts, which, by the way, I hope you're selling, they'll be able to find them that morning, and your Jeff Cohen branded famous on Amazon shirt will show up.
Yeah, so one of the things that Melissa Burdick, and she co-presented with a seller, his name's Chris Perry. One of the things that Buy did was they ran all of these off Amazon promotions, emails, Facebook, basically telling their audience, we're going to have a Prime Day deal. Right. Come join us on Prime Day to take advantage of this.
Right.
And so I know a lot of sellers who are doing this. This is part of their strategy for this year. I just worked with a seller last week who didn't have a Prime Day deal, and this was the strategy we recommended to them. You have to figure out how to take advantage of people being on Amazon and how to drive the traffic when Amazon wants to see the traffic driven. And if you can do that, that's going to give you that spike that you need to maintain your position and to grow it over time.
Right. I think you're exactly right. And they talked about that. And I will tell you, you asked a great point a minute ago, which is which of these things can be done with 5 or 7 days left, or I don't know however many it is. Sorry, just looking at my date here. However many days we've got left, I will tell you.
If they had given us more notice, right?
Right. If you don't have an affinity group set up, this is not the strategy for you, with the exception of potentially some Facebook ads, which you could certainly run. But I will say that some of this is complex to get the numbers right. When I go back to saying understand your P&L at the item level, trying to advertise off Amazon onto Amazon and attribute it back and build it into your profit and loss at the item level will be complicated to do in 6 days' notice. But if you're not doing this, let that be a signal that for holiday, you should really resolve to build this and start developing this group. And if you do have this, you should have, this is the data leveraging. Drive traffic to Amazon on this day and then use that to get visibility for your product. Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing that Eric and I talk about a lot, and we even kind of debate at times, is Eric works with a lot of 1P sellers that also have 3P. And they're very large sellers with large catalogs. And so, I like to say, this is what the big boys are doing. Let's study case studies like Buy and like the Insole company that you talked about. And then let's figure out how everybody can implement those same strategies. So I know you've got to go. You've got another meeting coming up here in a couple of minutes. So I want to wrap it up with a couple. This is what we talked about, this is what you should take action on. So first, I think you said was update, optimize your product listing. Second was to look at possibly running a price promotion for your product.
Right.
And then I would also want to add to that you might want to think about using stackable coupons so that if somebody buys 2, 4, 8, 10 of your product, they get an additional discount. That's going to give you kind of the combination of the discounted price for the sale plus the coupons for people who want to get a bigger discount for doing more. And then
getting more sold, right? It's easier once you've sold one person one item to get them to buy 2. You want those units moving. You want to get up the sales rank. This is the day to drive that.
And then check your sponsored ads. Look at either increasing your budget or your bid, because they're going to both move faster on this day. Oh, I had a question for that. I don't know the answer to this. Is Amazon instantaneous? So if I update my bid, I know if I update my bid from 50 cents to $1, you start to bid $1 pretty instantaneously. But does Amazon see that as a momentum over time? Because the algorithm for sponsored ads is kind of a smoothing. And so it's looking at all of your data over time. So do I actually want to start that larger budget a couple days before so that Amazon is used to spending that whole budget? Or will they do a good job of spending it if I want to spend it?
I would say that knowing that what you want to do is go in with your best game on, right? This is this is the, one of the, I wouldn't say this is this, well, this is one of several Super Bowls at Amazon, right? And you're going to go in with your best helmet. You're going to go in with your everything. If you say, could I start spending a few days earlier to start working on my sales rank for my key items? That seems like a no-brainer. If you can find a way to start pushing up sales rank early, even knowing, now I know that doesn't answer the exact question you asked.
So almost
but I want to
run
say
a
that
pre-prime sale.
Right, exactly. You want to prime the prime sale. All right, I really got to go, Jeff. I'm so sorry.
All right. I think we kind of recapped it. Did we miss anything that you wanted to add? We've gone way over the number of shares, so we're going to pick a winner as soon as we get off here. Thank you for joining us. I'll let you kind of wrap up with how can people find you if people want to reach out and get more information, about Eric Heller, Marketplace Ignition. Give you a little radio pitch.
Right. No, absolutely. I don't want to give too much of a pitch. First, I want to say thank you, Jeff. And, you can find more information at info@marketplaceignition.com and certainly, obviously, www.marketplaceignition.com. And you can find more info about what we do and who we work with there. And, it's been an honor to be part of this. Thank you.
Awesome. Eric is one of our top rated speakers at the Resonate conference. He's been back twice. He's going to be asked to come back a third time just because he's constantly rated as one of the top speakers there. And so I appreciate you coming on and sharing with the audience.
Thank you.
And we look forward to everybody having an awesome Prime Day. Try to, take advantage of it as both a consumer and as a business owner. And hope it works out well for everybody.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.